Everyone, meet Potential Man. The Sonic franchise is full of a bunch of characters who I feel are extremely underrated. But out of all of them, there's one character who I feel is very underutilized and should definitely be used more. I am of course talking about Silver the Hedgehog. But unfortunately, he debuted in one of the worst games in gaming history. Silver is often called whiny, annoying, and overall just a bad character. But in my opinion, especially to all the other people who are probably watching this video, Silver is one of the best Sonic characters, and he's definitely my third favorite character in the franchise, right next to Sonic and Shadow. And so, in this video today, I am going to be doing a deep dive into Silver's character and why I think they should use him more. First, we need to start off with where Silver is from. Silver is from a very apocalyptic future, where the world got ruined by Iblis, aka the Flames of Disaster. He lives in a ruined world where people live without hope, and every time he asks someone, how did this happen, they always point to the flames. And one thing to know about Silver is that he's very optimistic. He always hopes for the best and fights to save his future. But he also has a chemistry with Blaze the Cat, who somehow is also from the future. If you played Sonic Rush, you know she's from a different dimension. But here, it seems like she's just in the future. I'm not opening that can of worms today. That's just something I find weird. Eventually, they both run into Mephiles, who is the main bad guy of the game. And this brings up another thing about Silver. He's very naive, because Silver has a very trusting nature. He took Mephiles' word at face value, which easily manipulated him. But to be honest, a lot of people criticize him over this, but I don't really blame him. If I lived in a world that was ruined and post-apocalyptic, I would do anything to save that world too, just like Silver. So I can understand why Silver would trust Mephiles. Silver is also willing to help people. When Silver eventually runs into Amy in the game, even when he wonders why is he doing this, he still helps her find Sonic even though he doesn't know Sonic is the Iblis trigger. Now let's transition over to an important part in Silver's arc. When Silver is about to kill Sonic, Amy steps in and tells him to stop. Silver then tells Amy that Sonic is responsible for destroying his future, which led Amy to say,
"If I had to choose between the world and Sonic, I would choose Sonic."
A lot of people hate Amy for saying this, but I can kind of get where she's getting at. Because, I mean, come on, she loves Sonic after all. If you love someone, would you choose the world or them? Anyways, what Amy says really sticks with Silver, and this leads into one of my personal favorite parts of his arc, where Silver questions if killing someone to save the world is really necessary. This is where Silver really starts to question Mephiles, and we get to see him think for himself, and eventually in the story, after running into Shadow, him and Silver go back in time to discover that Mephiles and Iblis are practically the same being called Solaris, and they both seal them. In Silver's story, Silver gives Elise a Chaos Emerald, which also shows how kind-hearted Silver is. Eventually, Silver runs into Sonic again. I love how Sonic just automatically accepts that Silver's on his side. He just automatically grins and starts going on his way. After Silver helps Sonic save the princess from her fate in the past, Silver heads back to his future and decides to use what he learned while he was in the past trying to seal Iblis. Now, of course, it doesn't work for him, but it works for Blaze instead, since she has a soul made of fire. And this is really hard on Silver because Blaze is Silver's only friend. Silver lives in the future where he's had little interactions with people, and to see his friend die is honestly heartbreaking. I honestly feel for him. But even after Blaze dies, he still has optimism, because during the final story, he basically tells everybody that there's still hope, that there's still a way to save Sonic, and of course he's the one who brings everyone's hopes back up again. Silver is a symbol of hope. It's such a shame all this was basically for nothing, because at the end of Sonic 06, I'm pretty sure we all know what happened. Sonic and Elise go back in time to blow out Solaris, removing 06 from the timeline. This is just one of the things I don't like about Sonic 06's story, because all of Silver's character development was basically for nothing. after Sonic 06 got panned for being bad and glitchy, Silver became a really hated character. He still made a few appearances in other games, specifically spin-offs, but there were two sets of games where he shines. I'm talking about the two Sonic Rivals games, because these games basically reintroduced Silver from 06, because 06 basically can't happen anymore. So in Sonic Rivals, this is basically the first time that characters have ever met Silver, and the story is Silver goes back in time to save his future from being ruined again by Eggman. Again, that's a whole can of worms I'm not willing to open right now. Now, I haven't played Sonic Rivals 1, so I can't say what happens in the story, but Eggman basically wants to turn the whole world into a card, which is just stupid. So, there's not really a whole lot to unpack here, but Sonic Rivals 2 is where things get a little bit more interesting. Because in Sonic Rivals 2, they pair him up with Espio, which I think is a really good pairing, because Espio being a super stealthy ninja and Silver being a optimistic being from the future with psychokinesis, it's a really good pairing, and they have some really good interactions here. I think this was a good team, because during the game they help each other find the Chow so that the Ifrit doesn't eat them. There's nothing really too crazy in Rivals 2 aside from that. Now next, I want to talk about Silver during the Meta era. Now, Silver didn't really appear too much in the Meta era. He was mainly in spin-offs, but he did appear in Sonic Forces, and just like the other members of the Sonic cast in the 2010s, Silver got screwed up. And he got screwed up by saying this one simple line.
I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist. Sonic is gone, Amy, and Tails has just lost it. If we're going to win, we have to do it without them.
Now, I don't know about you, but if you go back to when I talked about Silver in Sonic 06, I brought up how Silver was the only person to bring up that they can save Sonic, but here, he's just saying Sonic is dead, and just brings the mood down. Silver is anything but a realist, and this line in Sonic Forces really does ruin Silver. Now, Silver doesn't really do too much in Forces, he's just sort of there. The same can be said for Team Sonic Racing. He's just there, but he just feels like a complete goofball though. He didn't even have many appearances during this era, as I said earlier. Silver was screwed up by this simple line. I think this says everything you need to know about Silver and what he shouldn't be. And now we move on with the positive. Now I want to quickly talk about the IDW comics, because this gives us a pretty good characterization of Silver. When we first meet him, he's kind of dorky, but as we read on in the IDW comics, he's honestly one of the most powerful characters and one of the coolest characters in the series. We even get to see his super form again. That's pretty cool. In the comics, he always goes back to the past to make sure his future is great. Eventually, during the Metal Virus saga, he does. He manages to get a good future. He even helped plant a garden with Blaze, and went through an existential crisis where we get another interaction between him and Espio, which I thought was pretty cool. Ian Flynn and Evan Stanley really did a good job fleshing out Silver in the comics. And since they have jobs in the Sonic story team now, it's likely to think if we ever get a new Sonic game, we're gonna get this Silver, which I think is pretty good. Even in Crossworlds, he's very well written and has some of the best dialogue of all the rival characters. Like, look at him in Sage.
There is no Eggman Empire in my time. This is your chance to change your ways and become a force for good.
Your observation means I must work harder to ensure my father's vision becomes a reality.
To me, this hints at something, and hopefully we get answers to that soon. This line also made people imagine what a Silver game would be, and led fans to make fan work of the character just to show how much the fans truly love this character. I think Silver should get his own game. I mean, if Shadow got 2 games, then I think Silver should get a game. Since Silver lives in the future, we would see what happens when Sonic isn't around anymore, and we get to see how Silver and maybe a few other characters get to fight to protect the future that they live in. Overall, Silver is a naive, caring, and the symbol of hope in the Sonic series. Now, there's so much more I haven't talked about yet, like how he was portrayed in the Archie comics, but that's a story for another day. Silver is a very underutilized character that Sonic Team barely uses, nearly because due to the game he was introduced in, he became known as the "it's no use" guy, or the guy who got kicked in the head by Shadow. Recently, there was a Japanese poll. Silver listed third most popular right next to Sonic and Shadow, which shows me that they should honestly do more with this guy, and hopefully in the future they will, because so far the future is kind of looking a bit bright for Silver, and also a bit dull since we don't know what's going to happen. IDW chose to give us a great portrayal of this character and what we could possibly see in the next mainline game if he's in it. But yeah, I really hope Silver eventually gets his time to shine.